The first signs of change as it relates to wedding planning when it came to COVID-19 was as we saw group gathering restrictions from the CDC and from the White House, and we saw travel bans happening, we knew weddings were going to be the first thing to go. We at The Knot knew we had a responsibility to help couples through this unprecedented time. We immediately set up a hotline for couples to call to just either vent or talk about how they even start this process. And we were there, we had wedding experts, we had our staff essentially there to answer calls 24/7 to help couples navigate this.
As soon as we got engaged, literally the next week, Jade was scouting places to get married, literally.
Yes. We had a whole year and a half of planning, of conversations with the resort. When we had to switch things up, it was definitely a huge blow for us because we had all these dreams and plans for our wedding.
I didn't really picture my wedding day growing up as a little girl. I thought if I got married, I would end up being in my 40s and just do something quick on the beach. But because the beach was always part of my vision, when I did meet the love of my life a little earlier than expected, I wanted that beach wedding.
That was also something that we clicked on right away. Was I always wanted to just be on a beach. So I did have a little bit of a vision actually for what I wanted as well.
About 6 months into our engagement, we decided it was time to start planning our wedding. We knew right away destination was calling our names, but we had no idea exactly what destination we would get married at. After a lot of research and talking to our family about what they would be comfortable with, we landed on going to Mexico and doing an all-inclusive resort. We booked the big day for June 27th, 2020, found a photographer, started planning the wedding, sent out our invites. We had about 8-9 months at that point to plan it all, but we were ready to go.
The location could have a lot of meaning. So it goes so much deeper than just this is the day that we were going to get married. And so couples are having to grapple with a lot of things, just that they're having to postpone their wedding. They may not be able to get married on the wedding date that they want to. They may not even get to have their first choice in vendors if they can't align all of their vendors on another date.
We were parents, so I came up with this idea that Parents Magazine was going to do a spotlight on her and a few other mothers in the music industry. And that entailed an interview and a photo shoot. And so I booked everything through her manager. Her manager was in on it. And, and it was a full photo shoot with the family. So it was me, her, and our son Cameron. And after a few shots of Cameron and Melanie solo, she turned around and I was on one knee and asked her to marry me.
We moved in 2019 into the house we're in now, and everything seemed like it was on track. We're like, great, 2020 is going to be our year. We're finally here. It's leading up to it is perfect. And then of course we were looking at August because August was when we got engaged. So we're like, it'd be very nice poetically to get married in August. We were planning trips to go out to do our tasting. Everything was on board, and this was all February, so January, February. So we locked it in February, and then 5 days after we locked it in,
that Rona.
Yeah, the Rona came, and Italy was the hot spot for it at the time.
Yeah.
So we had to reassess.
And I remember at first we were like, oh, okay, we'll see what happens in 2-3 weeks. See how this thing progresses. It's probably not going to get crazy. Who knows? And it just kept getting worse and worse and spreading to other countries.
And then coming here.
So we canceled it. It's July now, and it was still here. It was still in the house.
We wrote an article to give couples permission to grieve and to really experience the sadness that they may be feeling. There are lives being lost and there are economies that are going to really suffer from this, but couples are still really upset about their wedding being canceled. And it's because our life is made up of all of these amazing moments. And so we wanted to make sure that couples had permission almost to feel this way.
It was tough.
It was very tough. And so there were days.
There was a grieving period from a sense of not necessarily one time or like 1 week. it was just kind of like
constant.
You're packing something and you break down.
Yeah.
You're walking the dog and you just have that time to yourself and tears fall.
I felt at times like I was the violinist on the Titanic, playing the music as the ship sank, and I didn't know what to do. And for some reason, my Google Calendar, I know I deleted the airplane information. I know I deleted the hotel information. But a week before the trip, I got a reminder saying, don't forget, your trip to Cabo is coming up. And that just set me into a tailspin. I thought I was fine, but I realized I hadn't actually grieved the fact that our plans had changed.
There are so many people who are tied to certain things, right? Maybe they're tied to a certain location for their venue, or perhaps they're tied to a certain season of the year, maybe a flower that's in season, or maybe a certain type of food that is great that's served during a certain type of year. All of these things can be greatly affected by COVID. So now, again, plot twist, we have to reimagine. So maybe we may not be able to have your favorite flower, but perhaps we can have it in a print on your linen, or maybe we can have it in your invitation.
It's okay for couples to feel disappointed and emotional through all of this. It's important for couples to express those emotions, and we suggest couples lean on their wedding planners, their partners, close friends and family members to help them with the coping process, because it's important to remember that love is not canceled. According to our data, approximately 20 to 30,000 weddings happen every weekend in the United States. So we're talking from April to July, about 735,000 weddings that were impacted. And we're actually anticipating about 1 million weddings to have been impacted by the end of the year.
We are such an intimate industry. We thrive off of personal connection. So everything from picking your dress with your bridal consultant, to your tasting of your reception menu, to even thinking about dancing on the dance floor during the reception. I knew all of this was going to change, and I like to call it plot twist. It's going to be reimagined. So I knew that we were going to have to do all of these things and create really intimate experiences that still captured what our clients wanted to have.
We had probably about 50 people booked and registered to be at our wedding. People had bought flights. So by April, we were like, okay, this pandemic is real, and we cannot, in our hearts, feel comfortable with asking our family to go overseas during such a, crazy time.
So as March progressed, we decided we really truly needed to take action for a plan B. So I reached out to our wedding planner that we were working with in Cabo, Pamela, and I was like, what do we do? How do we handle this?
For us, we noticed that there are a lot of grooms and brides who have dreamed of this since they were little. And there are some who honestly didn't think about it until they found that special person. But no matter when they started dreaming about their wedding, the fact still remains that this was something that they were looking forward to.
From a content perspective, the first thing that we came out with was your checklist for postponing. Exactly what you need to do, whether it's contact your wedding planner if you have one, contact your venue, who the number one vendors are you should be reaching out to, what you should be doing about wedding insurance. We just went through all of that for couples so that they had some place to go. Couples then had to decide how to move forward with their wedding plans.
Yeah, so we didn't decide to actually have our wedding until about 3 to 4 weeks before we actually had it. And it was one of those things where we sat down and we were like, do we really want to push off our wedding date? Like, we're ready to just be married.
And trying to figure out kind of like what it could look like. And I threw out an idea to do it in our dad's backyard because we were staying there for 2 weeks before we could actually move to our apartment. So Jay talked to dad about it, and dad was like, let's do it. Yeah. And 3.5 weeks before June 13th, we started to plan a wedding in a backyard, COVID responsible.
Yes.
It is very important for us to still keep the authentic and very intimate ties with whatever it is that we are postponing for our events, so that we can still keep the love and memory alive.
We decided to do a mini-mony, which is just a even more condensed version of our already condensed wedding that we are going to do in Kansas for our close family.
A mini-mony is a term we at The Knot coined for the smaller wedding celebration we started to see while nationwide stay-at-home regulations were in place. This is a day in a ceremony where couples would honor their original wedding date with a more intimate version of their anticipated wedding ceremony.
So with our mini-mony decision, we wanted to keep our original wedding date because it goes back to all of the craziness with picking our wedding date, being in June and away from everything else. We wanted that June 27th date to be our anniversary forever, even if COVID said you can't go to Cabo.
When it comes to the wedding day, we understand that couples have a lot of emotional ties, not just because they're marrying their person and the partner that they've decided to commit their life to, but it can be the wedding date. Maybe it's the date that they met. Maybe it's the date their grandparents got married. They're also grappling with this idea that maybe their guests can't all attend because, in person at least, because of travel restrictions, or there are people with underlying health conditions and it's just not safe for them to travel. So there are a lot of things that couples are having to deal with besides just postponing their date.
Neither one of our families live here. So, the travel part is a huge part of them being able to be at our wedding. And if they can't do that, if they're not comfortable doing that first and foremost, then there's really no sense to have it in August. So that's when we made the decision. All right, let's postpone it yet again.
So make sure that you can find a venue that will help you celebrate safely. And if the date is important to you, that's going to be one of the main factors.
For the most part, we kept our mini-mony and big day as completely separate entities. We had a pastor marry us, and we did traditional vows in the church that Austin grew up in. I wore a short white dress, really cute, but not my wedding dress, saving that for the big day in Cabo. My dad walked me through the side of the church because I wanted the big moment of the special teary-eyed first look.
Everyone stands up, looks at you.
To be in Cabo. And so our mini-mony we kept on a more casual, almost a courthouse vibe.
So this is not unique at all. It is very common for a bride to want to save her big dress for her bigger day. And even now, you can find that most brides are in a different place right now. So when they approach their mini-mony, they are coming from a totally different vibe, different energy, a whole different mindset when they are going into their smaller celebration.
We actually used Zoom to show our wedding to our family and friends that couldn't physically be at the wedding. And we had about, I don't even know how many people we sent that link to, maybe almost 80 people.
When it comes to a virtual wedding, the first thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that you're communicating with your guests. This is new for all of us for the most part. So what's the dress code you're expecting? Do you expect people to feel casual, or do you want still an element of formality to the day? Is there a signature cocktail that you can send the recipe around so that everyone can make it together? So there's this feeling of togetherness. Are there any virtual toasts that you're going to expect?
We just set up an iPad. We bought like a specific iPad stand, tripod on Amazon, and we set it up. I had my sister set it up right before the ceremony started, and that's what we did.
It was perfect.
It was.
Our friends actually did wedding watch parties.
In order to make this thing really happen within about 3 weeks, we needed help and we needed support.
And I will add, family was critical in every single way.
So we are still going to see a lot of couples who will opt and say, you know what, the big wedding is not my thing. Let's just cancel it and do something smaller. But it is the larger event that is canceled, not the love and not the connection that they want with their family and friends.
Especially with weddings, you just get caught up in what flowers and what colors and what place settings and who's gonna sit by who and who's gonna be there. And it's just so much that I think the forced let go of control because of COVID and requiring support, like for us to even make it happen from our family, our friends, our wedding planner. I mean, down to even the fact that we didn't even know what flavor our cake was going to be.
So there were a lot of blessings in disguise because of COVID. Our original plan was to do the mini-mony completely bare bones. We ultimately decided on a pizza party after, a quick ceremony, local pizza delivery straight to the church. We even had an ice cream cake, keeping it simple. We're both big ice cream fans. I still wanted those big moments, those special memories to have in Cabo on our big day, but yet knowing the day we legally got married in Belleville, Kansas is still important.
It's still a big day. It's still special. That's what everyone kept reminding us. This is still a big day. Because we're like, oh, our big day. And they're like, no. This is a big day in your life. Take that seriously.
The energy was just right. Like the energy that you want for your wedding, full of love, full of appreciation, full of excitement. It was all of those things that you cannot plan. Like you can plan all the other things, but you cannot plan the energy in the space that you're getting married in. And like at the end of the day, like that's what's most important about getting married and having a wedding, is about commemorating this moment where you are becoming one with another person. Yep. And that's what it ended up being for us. So I think that for other brides and grooms that are just feeling down about this season of where we're at in the world, it's not the end of the world, and it's not going to be the demise of your wedding or your marriage. At the end of the day, this is just the beginning. This is the kickoff. And if you want your wedding to be everything that it should be, focus on what you want your wedding to feel like. Focus on what you want it to feel like.
Once you get there, stay there.
It's really become a very simplistic view, I think, for us at this point, where once we had very large dreams of grandeur with like as many of our friends and family as possible as we possibly could have. And now we're just like ceremony, super close, super immediate. And as soon as we can do that, that's kind of what's become the priority at this point. So we're just waiting on that.
If there's anything positive that comes out of this when it comes to weddings, it's this idea that we've all learned to pivot our business, and we have photographers who are doing engagement shoots virtually through FaceTime, and we're seeing bridal salons who are having virtual consultations and sending dresses for at-home try-ons. So we're really seeing the industry come together and just find a way to pivot and to keep weddings and to keep the joy and keep the celebratory nature of weddings and of engagements. And I think that's really amazing to see. And it brings a lot of hope.
Creativity has really shown during this time as well. A lot of people are discovering how amazing their wedding vendors actually were. Some of these intimate celebrations and these elopements were services that a lot of wedding vendors already offered, but now they're coming to the forefront. But now you get to be very creative with how you celebrate.
Couples, when it comes to their wedding, are understanding the buying power that they have and understanding that their wedding really makes a statement about them as a couple. So we're seeing couples use their wedding almost as a form of activism. They may decide to really be intentional about the vendors that they choose, such as they may decide to hire all Black-owned businesses, or they may decide to go with an all-female vendor crew. They may even decide to get married at a venue that gives back to a community. So we're seeing couples want to not only make a statement, but also do good with their weddings. We also see sustainability to be very important to this generation. And so whether they can upcycle their decor or have their flowers all composted. So they're looking for these solutions to make sure that their wedding is really reflective of themselves and also their morals and their values.
As far as activism goes, we've always been down for the cause, always. So we have been hiring and working with Black people, brown people since forever. And so we knew that, especially having such a large platform, and especially with wedding culture and what's popular in weddings, doesn't really showcase people of color and how we do weddings and how we shoot each other as far as photography. Our wedding planner was a Black woman. The woman that made our cake was Black. Mark's stepdad who DJ'd, he's Black. Like literally my
photographer's Mexican.
It's important. We always do that though.
Couples are pushing personalization to new levels, striving to make a statement surrounding who they are and what they stand for with their weddings. Based on your wedding date, the Knot checklist provides all the essential to-dos at just the right moments throughout a couple's wedding planning journey. Couples can add, remove, search, drag, and drop all wedding-related tasks in their chosen order to create a completely personalized checklist to keep them moving in the right direction through their planning journey.
So here is my final word of advice. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Every single weekend, Murphy and his little law try to RSVP to your wedding. And every single weekend, your wedding team takes all of the chaos, the disorder, the tantrums, all of the little things that you didn't even know about, and we hand back the perfect planned wedding. And to all of my wedding professionals out there, I see you working hard. You are amazing, and we are going to get through this. We're built for this, and we do it all of the time. And we will be ready to throw one hell of a party when this is over.
Love is not canceled. This is not the end. So just keep dreaming, keep getting inspired, work with your vendors, and it may not be the exact day that you had envisioned or that you had actually originally planned, but it is going to be amazing. And don't lose sight of the fact that you have found your person in the billions of people that are on this earth. And that is amazing. And that is something to celebrate no matter what that looks like.